Before humans learned to speak, they learned to observe. A frightened face, a confident walk, trembling hands, restless eyes. The human mind has always revealed itself through silent signals long before words were spoken. Most people hear conversations. Very few truly observe people. This book is not about supernatural powers or magical mind reading. It is about understanding human behavior through observation. Every emotion leaves traces behind. Fear changes posture. Confidence changes movement. Anxiety changes breathing. Slow. Even silence can reveal thoughts that words try to hide. Many people say one thing while their body quietly says another. A person may claim to be calm while their fingers shake beneath the table. Someone may smile while their eyes show discomfort. A confident voice may hide insecurity. Human beings constantly leak information without realizing it. The purpose of this book is to train your awareness. You will begin to notice the small details most people ignore. Expressions that last only a fraction of a second. Changes in tone. Hesitation before answering. Nervous habits. Eye movement. Personal space. And hidden emotional reactions. These signals may appear small, but together they create a surprisingly clear picture of what a person feels inside. This skill is useful in every part of life. It improves conversations, relationships, communication, interviews, business interactions, and everyday social situations. The better you understand people, the better you understand human nature itself. But observation must be used carefully. The goal is not manipulation or control. True observation should create understanding, empathy, and awareness. When used correctly, it helps you communicate better, avoid deception, and become more socially intelligent. At first, human behavior may seem chaotic and unpredictable. Then slowly, patterns begin to appear. And once you learn to recognize those patterns, you start realizing something fascinating. People speak, even when they never say a word.
Walk into a crowded room and observe carefully. Before anyone speaks, your brain is already collecting information. You notice who appears confident and who seems nervous. You sense tension between two people standing apart from each other. You notice a tired face, an impatient posture, a forced smile, or someone desperately trying to fit into the group. None of this requires words. Human beings are constantly communicating through silent signals. In fact, much of human communication happens without speech at all. The body reacts faster than language. Emotions appear in the face before the mind has time to hide them. A person can control sentences more easily than posture, breathing, or instinctive reactions. That is why observation is powerful. Most people focus only on words, but words can be edited, filtered, rehearsed, or completely false. Silent behavior is harder to control. The body often reveals emotions automatically. Think about the last time you were nervous. Perhaps your hands became cold. Maybe you avoided eye contact. Your voice may have changed slightly. Even if you tried to appear calm, your body still reacted in small ways. Now, imagine learning to notice these reactions in others. This is the foundation of reading people. A skilled observer pays attention to details that others ignore. Small pauses in speech, sudden changes in expression, defensive body positions, forced laughter, restless movement, tiny inconsistencies between words and behavior. These details may seem meaningless individually, but together they create patterns. And patterns reveal truth. For example, imagine asking someone a simple question. They answer quickly and confidently, but the moment a specific topic appears,
They suddenly touch their face, look away, and hesitate before speaking. That does not automatically mean they are lying, but it means something changed emotionally. Observation is not about jumping to conclusions.
This is where many people make mistakes. They believe one body language sign has a fixed meaning. In reality, human behavior is more complex. Crossing arms may signal discomfort, but it could also simply mean a person feels cold. Avoiding eye contact may suggest nervousness, or it may just be part of someone's personality. The secret is not to judge one signal alone. The real skill comes from noticing clusters of behavior and changes from a person's normal state. A relaxed person suddenly becoming tense is meaningful. A confident speaker suddenly losing rhythm is meaningful. The body rarely stays completely neutral. Interestingly, humans evolved this ability naturally. Long before modern language existed, survival depended on reading intentions quickly. Early humans needed to recognize danger, aggression, fear, trust, and social status through observation alone. In many ways, your brain is already designed for this skill. You simply stopped paying attention. Modern life distracts people. Phones, noise, constant stimulation, and fast conversations reduce observation. Many people no longer truly watch others. They hear words while missing the emotions hidden underneath them. This book will train you to slow down and notice, not obsessively, not suspiciously, but consciously. Over time, you will begin seeing details that once felt invisible. You will notice confidence in movement, insecurity in posture, stress in breathing, and discomfort in silence. Conversations will start feeling different because you are no longer listening only with your ears. You are observing with awareness, and that changes the way you understand people forever.
Chapter 2: Learning the Art of Observation. Most people look. Very few truly observe. There is a difference. Looking is automatic. Observation is intentional. Every day, people walk past hundreds of details without noticing them. A nervous waiter wiping his hands repeatedly. A friend pretending to smile while their eyes appear tired. A stranger checking the exit door every few seconds. These signals are visible, yet most minds ignore them completely. The human brain is selective. It constantly filters information to avoid overload. If your brain noticed every sound, movement, and detail around you, everyday life would become exhausting. So the mind learns to ignore most things automatically. Observation begins when you consciously break that habit. To become skilled at reading people, you must first learn how to pay attention. This does not mean staring at others or acting suspicious. True observation is calm and natural. It is the ability to quietly notice patterns without forcing them. Short pause. Imagine entering a room. Most people immediately focus on themselves. They think about how they look, what to say, or whether others are judging them. Their attention moves inward. An observer does the opposite. They become aware of the environment. They notice who appears comfortable, who seems isolated, who controls conversations, and who silently follows the group. They observe energy, tension, confidence, nervousness, and emotional shifts. The goal is not to judge people instantly. The goal is to collect information patiently. This is important because human behavior can be misleading when viewed too quickly. One action alone rarely reveals the full truth. Real observation requires context.
For example, someone crossing their arms may appear defensive, but perhaps the room is simply cold. A person avoiding eye contact may seem dishonest, but they could actually be shy or socially anxious. This is why skilled observers avoid quick conclusions. Instead, they search for repeated patterns. Patterns are everything. When the same behaviors appear repeatedly under emotional pressure, they become meaningful. A person who constantly touches their neck during uncomfortable questions
may be showing stress. Someone who suddenly becomes quiet around a certain topic may be emotionally affected by it. The key is comparison. You are not comparing people to your expectations. You are comparing people to their normal behavior. A relaxed person becoming tense is more revealing than a naturally tense person remaining tense. Sudden changes often expose hidden emotions. Observation also improves when you slow down mentally. Modern life trains people to move quickly. Fast scrolling, fast conversations, constant distractions. All of this weakens awareness. People hear words without noticing tone. They see faces without noticing emotion. To observe properly, your mind must become quieter. When you stop rushing, details become visible. You begin noticing hesitation before answers, forced laughter, fake confidence, tiny emotional reactions that disappear within seconds. At first, this may feel difficult. Your brain is not used to observing consciously. But like any skill, observation improves with practice. Start small. The next time you sit in a public place, quietly observe people around you. Notice posture, movement, energy, and interaction styles. Who seems confident? Who appears uncomfortable? Who seeks attention? Who avoids it? Do not mock people mentally. Do not become paranoid. Simply notice. Then compare your observations with reality whenever possible. Over time, your accuracy will improve naturally. One of the greatest advantages of observation is that it sharpens intuition. Many people describe intuition as mysterious, but often intuition is simply the brain recognizing patterns faster than conscious thought.
Your mind notices details silently, even before you fully understand them. That strange feeling you get about someone is sometimes the result of unconscious observation. Their tone, timing, expressions, posture, and behavior may quietly conflict with each other, creating discomfort in your mind before logic catches up. The better your observation becomes, the clearer these patterns appear. Eventually, you stop seeing conversations as words alone. You begin seeing emotions underneath them. And once that happens, people become far more transparent than they realize.
Chapter 3. The Power of Eye Contact. The eyes reveal more than people realize. Even when the face appears calm, the eyes continue speaking. Humans naturally look into each other's eyes because the brain understands something important. Emotions are difficult to completely hide there. Fear, attraction, confidence, discomfort, suspicion, and sadness often appear in the eyes before words can control them. This is why eye contact feels powerful. A confident person usually maintains comfortable eye contact without appearing tense. A nervous person may avoid it completely or force too much of it unnaturally. Someone hiding discomfort may look away at certain moments without noticing they are doing it. But reading eyes is not as simple as memorizing one meaning for one action. Many people make this mistake. For example, avoiding eye contact does not automatically mean dishonesty. Some people avoid it because of anxiety, shyness, insecurity, cultural habits, or even deep concentration. In the same way, strong eye contact does not always mean confidence. Some people intentionally maintain intense eye contact to appear dominant or trustworthy.
Observation only becomes accurate when you study patterns and context together. One of the most revealing things to observe is timing. Notice when eye behavior changes. A person may speak normally for several minutes, then suddenly break eye contact when a specific topic appears. Someone may blink rapidly after hearing an uncomfortable question. Another person may glance toward the exit door repeatedly while pretending to stay relaxed. These small changes matter because emotions affect attention automatically. The eyes often move toward what the mind is focused on. A worried person may constantly scan the environment. A nervous individual may check other people's reactions repeatedly. Someone emotionally attracted to another person often watches them even when they are not directly involved in the conversation. Humans are naturally drawn toward what emotionally affects them. Pupil size can also change with emotion, although these changes are subtle. Interest, excitement, fear, attraction, and stress can all influence the eyes in ways most people never consciously notice.
Blinking patterns are another interesting clue. Stress and anxiety often increase blinking speed. Deep focus sometimes reduces it. A person under emotional pressure may blink rapidly after hearing unexpected information because the brain is processing stress. Again, no single signal proves anything by itself. Observation is about collecting multiple clues together. A forced smile combined with restless eyes creates a different impression than a genuine relaxed smile. Calm words combined with fearful eye movement create emotional inconsistency. The eyes frequently reveal emotions that speech attempts to hide. In group conversations, observe who people naturally face and watch most often. Notice who seeks approval before speaking. Attention reveals emotional importance. The human brain evolved to detect emotional intention through facial attention patterns because survival depended on it. Your mind is already built for reading people. This book simply trains you to become conscious of abilities you already possess unconsciously. The next time you speak with someone, do not stare intensely. Simply observe naturally. Notice changes. Notice comfort. Notice where attention moves during emotional moments. Over time, you will realize something fascinating. People often reveal their true feelings in the exact moments they believe they are hiding the most. Chapter 4: Facial Expressions and Microreactions. The human face is one of the most expressive parts of the body. Even when a person tries to remain emotionally controlled, tiny reactions still appear for brief moments. These reactions often happen so quickly that most people never notice them consciously. But once you learn to observe them, faces become extremely revealing. A smile may hide irritation. A calm expression may briefly crack under pressure. Confidence may disappear for a fraction of a second before returning again. These small emotional leaks are known as microreactions. They are rapid facial changes caused by genuine emotion appearing before the conscious mind fully controls it. Unlike deliberate expressions, microreactions are often automatic. That is why they are important. Human beings are skilled at controlling words. Faces are harder to control completely. Imagine someone receiving unexpected bad news while trying to remain calm. For a split second, shock may appear in the eyes or mouth before the face returns to normal. Another person pretending to enjoy a conversation may briefly show boredom or irritation before forcing another smile. These moments are small, but they are real. The problem is that they disappear quickly.
Most people are too distracted to notice them. Conversations move fast, and attention usually stays focused on words instead of expressions. Observers learn to slow their attention enough to notice emotional shifts happening beneath the surface. One important thing to understand is that genuine emotions usually affect the entire face. A real smile does not involve only the mouth. The eyes soften, the cheeks rise naturally, and the face appears relaxed. Forced smiles often look incomplete because only the mouth moves while the eyes remain emotionally disconnected. This is why fake happiness sometimes feels strange, even when you cannot explain why. Your brain detects inconsistency automatically. Fear also creates recognizable facial patterns. The eyes widen slightly, facial muscles tense, and the mouth may tighten. Anger often sharpens facial tension. Sadness lowers energy in the face. Disgust briefly changes the nose and mouth area. These reactions happen across cultures because many emotional expressions are deeply connected to human biology. However, context still matters. Some people naturally appear serious, even when relaxed. others smile frequently out of politeness or social habit. Observation becomes accurate only when you compare expressions to the person's normal behavior. Changes reveal more than fixed habits.
A person who suddenly stops smiling after a specific topic appears is revealing emotional change. Someone who briefly shows irritation before pretending to remain calm may be struggling internally. The transition itself becomes meaningful. Timing is extremely important. Suppose you compliment someone, and for a brief moment, genuine surprise appears before they smile warmly. That quick reaction may reveal that the compliment affected them emotionally more than they expected. Now imagine asking an uncomfortable question and noticing a split-second expression of fear or annoyance before the person answers calmly. That does not automatically prove deception, but it does reveal emotional impact. The face often reacts before language catches up. This is why experienced interviewers, negotiators, investigators, and psychologists pay close attention to facial timing rather than words alone. Another interesting detail is emotional suppression. Some people try so hard to control expressions that their face becomes unnaturally still. While calmness can be natural, excessive control sometimes creates stiffness because the person is actively managing reactions. Ironically, trying too hard to hide emotion can itself become revealing. Humans are emotional creatures pretending to be logical creatures. The face constantly exposes that truth. To improve your observation skills, begin watching expressions during emotional moments. Notice how quickly emotions flash across faces before disappearing. At first, these reactions may seem invisible. Then suddenly, you begin noticing them everywhere. You start seeing forced smiles, hidden irritation, silent attraction, nervous tension, and emotional discomfort hidden beneath ordinary conversations. And once you learn to recognize these facial patterns, people begin revealing far more than they intended to show.
Chapter 5: The Psychology of Body Language. Long before humans mastered speech, the body was already communicating. Movement came first. Posture came first. Expressions came first. Even today, the body continues speaking alongside every conversation. A person may say they feel confident while their shoulders remain tense. Someone may claim to be relaxed while their feet constantly move with nervous energy. Another person may smile politely while their body quietly leans away from the conversation. The body often reveals emotions that words attempt to hide. This happens because emotions are physical, not just mental. Fear affects muscles. Stress changes posture. Confidence influences movement. The human body reacts automatically to emotional states, often before conscious control appears. That is why body language matters. One of the easiest things to observe is posture. Confident people usually occupy space comfortably. Their movements appear natural rather than defensive. They do not constantly shrink themselves physically. Insecure or anxious individuals often appear tighter, more closed, or overly cautious in movement.
But confidence is not always loud. True confidence often looks relaxed. People trying too hard to appear dominant may use exaggerated gestures, excessive eye contact, or forced posture. Genuine confidence usually requires less effort because the person feels little need to prove themselves. Comfort and discomfort also shape body language strongly. When humans feel safe, the body relaxes naturally. Movements become smoother. Facial muscles soften. Breathing appears steady. But under stress, the body becomes defensive. Arms cross protectively. Hands touch the face or neck. Feet reposition toward exits. Muscles tighten without conscious awareness. The body constantly prepares itself emotionally for the environment. One interesting detail many observers miss is the importance of feet. People focus heavily on faces because faces contain obvious emotion. But feet often reveal hidden intention honestly because most people forget to control them. In conversations, feet frequently point toward where a person truly wants to go or whom they feel most interested in. A person pretending to enjoy a conversation may still position their feet toward the exit.
the body leaks intention quietly.
Personal space also communicates emotion. Humans naturally protect invisible zones around themselves. The distance people maintain changes depending on trust, attraction, fear, dominance, and familiarity. A person stepping closer may signal comfort or confidence. Someone leaning away may reveal discomfort, even while speaking politely. Movement speed is another revealing clue. Nervous energy often creates restless movement. People under stress may tap fingers, shift weight repeatedly, adjust clothing unnecessarily, or touch objects constantly. Calm individuals usually move with less urgency because their mind feels less threatened. The body mirrors internal emotional pressure. Interestingly, humans instinctively mirror each other during positive social connection. Friends often copy posture unconsciously. Couples may synchronize movement without realizing it. People who feel emotionally connected naturally begin matching tone, gestures, and energy levels. This silent synchronization reveals comfort and trust. On the other hand, emotional conflict often creates physical contradiction. A person may verbally agree while subtly shaking their head no. Someone may smile while stepping backward slightly. These inconsistencies become important because the body and words are no longer aligned. And when body language conflicts with speech, the body is often more honest.
Chapter 6. The Voice Behind the Words. Words carry information, but the voice carries emotion. Two people can say the exact same sentence while meaning completely different things. One voice sounds warm and sincere. Another sounds cold and forced. The words remain identical, yet the emotional impact changes entirely. This is because humans do not communicate through language alone. We communicate through tone, rhythm, speed, pauses, breathing, and emotional energy hidden inside the voice itself. The human voice is deeply connected to emotion. Fear tightens it. Confidence steadies it. Anxiety speeds it up. Sadness lowers energy. Anger sharpens certain sounds. Attraction softens tone naturally. Even when people try to hide emotion, the voice often changes slightly under pressure. That is why careful listeners learn to observe not only what people say, but how they say it. One of the first things to notice is speaking speed. Nervous people often speak too quickly because anxiety creates mental pressure. Their thoughts race ahead, causing rushed sentences and irregular breathing. Others slow down noticeably when discussing uncomfortable topics because the brain becomes more careful.
Changes in rhythm matter. A person speaking confidently may suddenly hesitate before answering a particular question. Another may repeat words unnecessarily while trying to think under stress. Small pauses can reveal emotional processing happening beneath the conversation. Silence itself becomes meaningful. Most people fear silence and try to fill it immediately. Skilled observers understand that silence often reveals more than speech. A delayed response can signal discomfort, uncertainty, memory recall, emotional conflict, or careful thinking. Sometimes the most revealing moment in a conversation happens just before the answer appears. Breathing patterns also affect the voice strongly. Stress changes breathing automatically. A nervous person may take shallow breaths, speak unevenly, or pause unexpectedly. Emotional pressure often creates tension in the throat and chest, slightly altering vocal quality. You may not consciously notice these changes, but your brain often reacts to them instinctively. Have you ever felt someone sounded dishonest even though you could not explain why? Often the voice created emotional inconsistency. Perhaps the words sounded confident while the tone sounded uncertain. Maybe the person laughed unnaturally at the wrong moment. The brain constantly compares language with emotional delivery. When they do not match, discomfort appears.
Tone can also reveal hidden social dynamics. People naturally change their voice depending on who they are speaking to. Someone may speak softly around authority figures, but loudly among friends. Attraction may create a warmer tone. Nervousness may create higher pitch. Dominance often slows speech slightly because calmness signals confidence. Emotion shapes sound constantly. Another powerful clue is vocal energy. Excited people usually sound more alive and expressive. Emotionally exhausted individuals often sound flat or distant. A forced, cheerful tone may contain hidden tension underneath it. Humans are extremely sensitive to these differences, even if they cannot consciously describe them. This sensitivity evolved for survival. Long before technology existed, humans needed to detect emotional intention quickly. The voice helped reveal danger, trust, fear, aggression, and social status. Interestingly, liars sometimes focus so heavily on controlling words that they forget to control natural vocal rhythm. The real goal is to notice emotional shifts. A calm voice suddenly becoming tense. A confident speaker losing rhythm. These transitions reveal internal emotional movement. To improve this skill, begin listening more carefully during everyday conversations. Notice pauses, breathing, tone changes, and emotional rhythm. You will slowly realize something surprising. The human voice often reveals emotions long before the speaker intends to reveal them consciously.
Chapter 7. Detecting Nervousness and Anxiety. Nervousness is difficult to hide completely. A person may attempt to appear calm, confident, and emotionally controlled, but the body and mind often leak stress through small, unconscious behaviors. This happens because anxiety is not only emotional, it is physical. When humans feel pressure, the nervous system reacts automatically. Heart rate changes, muscles tighten, and breathing shifts. The body quietly prepares itself for possible danger, even during ordinary social situations. Some signs of nervousness are obvious, like shaking hands or sweating. But many signals are far more subtle. A person under stress may blink rapidly, touch their face repeatedly, or adjust clothing unnecessarily. These behaviors are often attempts to release internal tension. Humans naturally seek comfort when anxious. Touching the neck or rubbing hands together can create a temporary feeling of control and safety.
One important thing to understand is that nervousness does not always mean guilt or dishonesty. Someone may appear nervous simply because they fear embarrassment, rejection, or judgment. An innocent person under pressure may look far more anxious than a confident liar. Therefore, the goal is not to accuse people mentally, but to understand emotional states more accurately. One of the strongest clues is sudden behavioral change. Imagine speaking casually with someone who appears relaxed. Then a certain topic appears, and their posture tightens, or they begin speaking faster. That shift matters. Emotional changes are often more revealing than fixed personality traits. A calm individual suddenly becoming nervous usually indicates emotional impact connected to the moment. Timing reveals meaning.
Nervous people often struggle with stillness. The body under stress often creates movement, such as finger tapping or leg shaking. Sometimes people attempt to hide this by becoming overly controlled, sitting too still or speaking too carefully. Ironically, excessive control itself can appear unnatural, because genuine relaxation usually looks effortless. Interestingly, nervousness can spread between people as humans unconsciously mirror emotional energy. To become better at reading anxiety, begin observing emotional transitions instead of isolated actions. Notice what changes when pressure appears. A skilled observer does not force nervousness out of others. They simply notice what naturally appears. Over time, you will begin recognizing anxiety almost instantly. And once you understand how nervousness reveals itself, you start realizing how many emotions humans quietly struggle to hide every single day.
Chapter 8. Understanding Confidence and Dominance. Confidence has a silent presence. Before confident people speak, others often feel it already. Their movements appear calm, their posture looks natural, and they do not seem desperate for approval. True confidence rarely needs to announce itself loudly. This is important because many people confuse confidence with dominance, aggression, or attention-seeking behavior. In reality, genuine confidence is usually quieter than performance. People trying hard to appear powerful often overdo everything. They may speak too loudly, interrupt constantly, or force eye contact unnaturally. Their behavior feels heavy because they are attempting to create an image rather than expressing natural certainty. Real confidence, however, usually feels relaxed. Confident individuals tend to move without unnecessary tension and are less afraid of pauses, silence, or disagreement. Their behavior suggests emotional security rather than emotional struggle.
One of the clearest signs of confidence is comfort with space. People who feel secure often occupy space naturally without shrinking themselves physically. Their posture appears open rather than defensive. In contrast, insecure people often appear physically cautious. Their shoulders tighten and their movements become restricted as they focus on how others perceive them. The body reflects internal self-perception. Confidence also changes speaking style. Calm voices usually signal emotional control. Confident speakers rarely rush every sentence because they do not fear silence as intensely. People lacking confidence often overcompensate. Some become overly talkative or attempt humor constantly to gain approval. Dominance and confidence are not the same thing. Dominance is about controlling social position, while confidence is about internal stability. A truly confident person does not need to win every conversation because their self-worth is less dependent on external approval.
Humans naturally sense emotional certainty, which is why calm individuals often influence groups without speaking much. In stressful situations, people instinctively observe who appears calmest because the nervous system trusts stability. Eye behavior and movement patterns also reveal confidence clearly. Secure individuals maintain comfortable eye contact, and their movements are deliberate rather than rushed or uncertain. Another interesting clue is the reaction to mistakes. People with fragile confidence often become defensive quickly, while truly secure individuals can admit mistakes more calmly. Social hierarchy also influences behavior. Silent authority is often more powerful than aggressive authority because it feels natural instead of forced. When you study human behavior carefully, you realize that many loud personalities are secretly insecure. Confident people usually carry less emotional resistance and appear more comfortable being themselves. Once you learn to recognize genuine confidence, you stop being easily impressed by performances designed only to look powerful.
Chapter 9. Attraction without words. Attraction often begins in silence, before people confess feelings and before a single romantic sentence is spoken. The body usually starts revealing interest quietly. A glance held slightly too long, a change in posture, a softer tone of voice, or a nervous smile appearing without reason. All of these are signs. Humans are constantly sending emotional signals without realizing it because attraction is deeply biological. When someone emotionally affects us, the brain and body react automatically. Even highly controlled people often reveal subtle signs when they feel drawn towards someone. One of the strongest signs of attraction is attention. People naturally focus on what interests them emotionally. They look more often, listen more carefully, and become unusually aware of the other person's reactions. Even in group conversations, attraction quietly influences attention patterns. Someone may pretend to focus on everyone while unconsciously watching one particular person most of the time. The mind follows emotional importance automatically.
Eye behavior becomes especially revealing during attraction. Comfortable eye contact often increases, and people may glance repeatedly even when there is no reason to do so. Smiles also change. Genuine attraction often creates expressions that appear more relaxed and natural. Interestingly, attraction often creates nervousness as well. Even confident individuals may begin adjusting clothing, fixing hair, or changing posture around someone they like.
The desire to appear attractive creates self-consciousness. Voice changes are common too. Tone may become warmer, softer, or more playful. Physical orientation also matters. People usually position their body, feet, and shoulders toward those they feel connected to. Leaning slightly closer or reducing personal distance can all suggest comfort and attraction. Mirroring is especially interesting. Humans unconsciously copy the behavior of people they emotionally connect with. This silent synchronization creates emotional bonding.
However, attraction is not always obvious. Some people hide it intentionally or suppress signals out of uncertainty. One isolated sign means very little. Real attraction usually appears through clusters of repeated behaviors over time. It is also important to remember that attraction is not purely physical. Humans are attracted to confidence, emotional safety, humor, and intelligence. People often remember how someone made them feel more than how they looked. But caution is important. Not every smile means romantic interest. Kindness or politeness can sometimes resemble attraction. A skilled observer watches patterns, consistency, and emotional intensity over time. Real attraction tends to repeat itself naturally. The most fascinating part is that humans often communicate attraction more honestly through behavior than through words. Once you begin noticing these silent signals, relationships start becoming far more transparent than they once seemed.
Chapter 10: The Science of Deception. Humans lie more often than they admit. Some lies are small and harmless, while others are deeply serious. Regardless of the reason, lying places pressure on the human mind, and that pressure creates behavioral changes. This is why deception often leaks through emotions, body language, voice, and timing. The brain must simultaneously create a false story, maintain consistency, and control emotional reactions while observing the other person's response. However, there is no single lie detector signal. Avoiding eye contact or appearing nervous proves nothing on its own, as many honest people appear anxious under pressure. The real skill is detecting inconsistency. When words, emotions, timing, and behavior stop matching naturally, something important may be happening beneath the surface. Deception often creates internal conflict because the mind and body are moving in different directions.
One common sign of deception is delayed or unnatural timing. Truthful memories are usually recalled naturally, while fabricated stories may contain strange pauses as the brain constructs information. Conversely, a heavily rehearsed lie may sound too immediate and prepared. Emotion can also become inconsistent. A person may force exaggerated emotion to appear convincing or appear disconnected from a serious event. When emotion feels artificial, the brain notices. Liars sometimes provide excessive detail unnecessarily because they believe more information sounds more believable. Ironically, reality is usually less polished than invention. Defensiveness is another revealing clue. Deceptive individuals sometimes react with unusual aggression or emotional manipulation designed to shift attention. However, observation only becomes accurate when behavior changes noticeably from a person's normal baseline. Sudden shifts are often more important than fixed habits.
The body also reacts to psychological pressure. Stress may increase blinking, swallowing, fidgeting, or vocal tension. A person trying hard to appear relaxed may become unnaturally controlled instead. To improve accuracy, skilled observers gather information slowly and look for repeated contradictions rather than isolated gestures. One powerful technique is allowing silence. Liars frequently feel pressure to fill silence because it increases mental discomfort. But observation must always remain ethical. Constant suspicion destroys trust and distorts perception. Healthy observation seeks understanding, not paranoia. The truth is that humans are emotionally complex, and deception is often a conflict between inner reality and outer behavior.
Once you learn to recognize that conflict, you begin seeing hidden tension in conversations that once appeared completely ordinary.
Chapter 11. Reading Group Behavior. Humans behave differently in groups than they do alone. A quiet person may suddenly become energetic around friends, while a confident individual may become silent in the presence of someone more dominant. The moment humans enter a social group, behavior begins changing. This happens because we are deeply social creatures. For thousands of years, survival depended on belonging to tribes and communities. Even today, the brain reacts strongly to social position, which is why group behavior reveals so much about human psychology. One of the first things to observe in a group is attention flow. Every group contains invisible social patterns. You must notice who controls the conversation naturally, who gets interrupted, and who receives the most eye contact. Power inside groups is not always obvious. Sometimes the loudest person is not the most respected. Often, the quiet individual who speaks rarely holds the strongest influence because the group pays close attention whenever they finally speak. Observation reveals hierarchy silently.
Another important detail is positioning. Humans naturally arrange themselves socially through body orientation and distance. Friends stand closer together, while outsiders remain slightly separated. Even seating positions can reveal relationships. Who chooses to sit beside whom, and who turns their body toward the center of attention. The body often exposes social comfort more honestly than words. Group laughter is also revealing. People frequently laugh harder when high-status individuals laugh first, and many watch group reactions before expressing their own opinions. This fear of social isolation strongly influences behavior, often shaping identity more than most people realize. One powerful phenomenon in group psychology is emotional contagion. Emotions like anxiety, excitement, or confidence move through groups almost like invisible energy. One calm person can stabilize tension without saying much, as humans unconsciously absorb emotional signals from each other constantly. Approval seeking is another revealing behavior. Some individuals constantly check group reactions, adjusting their behavior to maintain acceptance, while others appear emotionally independent. Dominance also creates interesting patterns. High-status individuals are often interrupted less, and others may unconsciously copy their posture or humor. However, group behavior can also be dangerous, as people sometimes ignore personal morals to match group emotion. Conflict inside groups exposes personality even further. Watch who becomes defensive, who stays calm, and who tries to restore peace. Silence inside groups can be especially meaningful. It is not always a sign of weakness, as the quietest person may be observing more carefully than everyone else. To improve your understanding, begin watching energy and attention in workplaces or social gatherings. Over time, you will realize that groups behave like living systems, with emotions and influence flowing silently beneath every conversation. Chapter 12. The Hidden Power of Silence. Most people are afraid of silence. The moment a conversation becomes quiet, discomfort appears, and people rush to fill empty space with random words or unnecessary explanations. But silence is not empty. Silence reveals. In many situations, it communicates more honestly than speech, because words can be carefully controlled, while silence exposes emotional reality. Confidence, tension, and insecurity often become visible the moment conversation stops. This is why silence feels powerful. A calm person can sit in silence comfortably, whereas a nervous person often feels pressure to escape it immediately. Silence removes distraction. When words disappear, attention shifts toward body language, facial expressions, and posture. Experienced observers do not fear pauses in conversation. They use them. Imagine asking an important question and remaining silent after the answer. Many people instinctively continue speaking because silence creates psychological pressure, causing them to reveal information they never planned to say. Interrogators, negotiators, and therapists understand this deeply. People often reveal the most during pauses rather than during direct questioning. The human mind dislikes unresolved tension. Silence also changes social power. People who speak constantly may appear emotionally needy, while those comfortable with silence often appear more confident. Stillness creates presence. However, silence does not always mean wisdom. It can also stem from fear, resentment, or emotional withdrawal. One fascinating aspect is emotional intensity. Two people sitting quietly together can feel peaceful, awkward, or hostile without exchanging a single sentence. The brain senses atmosphere automatically, which is why some silences feel comfortable while others feel unbearable. Attraction, too, grows inside silence. When two people feel emotionally connected, presence itself becomes enough, and silence stops feeling threatening. Conflict creates a different silence entirely. Angry silence often contains tension in posture and breathing, while sad silence feels emotionally heavy. Silence also reveals listening ability. Many people do not truly listen. They simply wait for their turn to speak. Modern life trains us to fear quiet moments with constant distractions, causing us to lose sensitivity to subtle emotional signals. Observation improves in silence. When external noise decreases, awareness increases, sharpening your perception of tone changes and hesitation. Interestingly, some of the most emotionally revealing moments happen without words. A long pause before answering, or someone quietly leaving a room. To understand people deeply, you must become comfortable with silence. The ability to remain emotionally steady without rushing to escape quiet moments gives you a powerful advantage. Over time, you begin realizing something surprising. Silence is not the absence of communication. Silence is communication itself. Chapter 13. The Art of Predicting Reactions. Human behavior may appear unpredictable at first, but beneath the surface, people often follow emotional patterns repeatedly without realizing it. Fear, confidence, insecurity, and anxiety all influence behavior in recognizable ways. Once you begin understanding these patterns, you can often predict reactions before they happen. Not with magic, but with observation. Every person carries emotional habits. Some avoid conflict automatically, while others become defensive under criticism. The more carefully you observe, the more predictable behavior becomes, because humans are creatures of patterns. A person who avoids difficult conversations will likely do so again. Someone who becomes aggressive when embarrassed will probably repeat that behavior under pressure. The past often reveals the future.
One of the strongest tools for predicting reactions is understanding emotional triggers. Every individual has certain fears or insecurities that affect them deeply. When these areas are touched, behavior changes quickly. This is why observers pay attention to emotional transitions. The moments where people suddenly change in tone, posture, or breathing reveal their hidden sensitivities. The human mind protects these emotional weak points carefully. Prediction also becomes easier when you understand personality patterns. Some people prioritize logic, while others prioritize emotion or status. These internal motivations influence decisions constantly. For example, approval-seeking individuals often make choices based on social acceptance rather than personal belief. Behavior follows internal needs, and under pressure, people repeat emotional habits because stress reduces conscious control. Pressure exposes predictable behavior. One of the strongest tools for predicting reactions is understanding emotional triggers. Every individual has certain fears or insecurities that affect them deeply. When these areas are touched, behavior changes quickly. This is why observers pay attention to emotional transitions.
The moments where people suddenly change in tone, posture, or breathing reveal their hidden sensitivities. The human mind protects these emotional weak points carefully. Prediction also becomes easier when you understand personality patterns. Some people prioritize logic, while others prioritize emotion or status. These internal motivations influence decisions constantly. For example, approval-seeking individuals often make choices based on social acceptance rather than personal belief. Behavior follows internal needs, and under pressure, people repeat emotional habits because stress reduces conscious control. Pressure exposes predictable behavior.
Chapter 14. Observation Exercises. Observation is not learned through theory alone. You cannot become skilled at reading people simply by memorizing concepts. Real observation develops through consistent, real-world practice. At first, most people struggle to notice details because the brain is trained to focus only on obvious information. The goal of these exercises is to strengthen awareness naturally until observation becomes effortless. The first exercise is simple. Watch people without listening to words. Sit in a public place and observe posture, movement, energy, and facial expressions while mentally muting conversations. Without hearing speech, you begin noticing how much communication happens silently, who appears confident, who looks uncomfortable, and who seeks approval constantly. This exercise trains your brain to focus beyond language. Another powerful method is watching interviews with the sound turned off to observe when expressions appear genuine versus forced.
The next exercise involves emotional timing. During conversations, focus carefully on transitions rather than watching behavior randomly. Notice what happens when difficult topics appear and how posture, breathing, and expressions shift under emotional pressure. Humans often reveal themselves during these transitions. You can also practice prediction by silently guessing how someone will respond emotionally before they speak. Observation sharpens through correction as the brain compares assumptions with reality. One important skill to practice is noticing baseline behavior. Spend time understanding how people normally behave when relaxed. Some individuals naturally avoid eye contact or move their hands even without anxiety. Without understanding this baseline, observation becomes inaccurate because change reveals more than habit. You should also practice observing yourself, noticing how your own body reacts during stress, attraction, or embarrassment. Self-awareness improves your awareness of others. Another excellent exercise is silent listening. During conversations, stop mentally preparing your next sentence and become fully present. Observe emotional tone, pauses, and inconsistency. Observation grows when attention becomes calmer. Patience is essential here. Beginners often try to analyze too quickly, but skilled observers collect multiple signals before forming conclusions. The goal is understanding patterns, not labeling people instantly. After enough practice, your brain begins noticing details automatically. You start sensing emotional tension, attraction, and insecurity more naturally. You stop merely hearing people and begin reading the emotional reality underneath their communication. However, remember that observation should increase empathy, not arrogance. The purpose is to create a deeper understanding of human nature and your own hidden struggles. Because in the end, the person you understand best through observation may become yourself.
Chapter 15. The Dark Side of Reading People. Every skill has two sides. The ability to understand human behavior can create empathy and awareness, but it can also be used for manipulation and psychological advantage. The more accurately you can read emotions, fears, and desires, the easier it becomes to influence others intentionally. Throughout history, manipulators, from cult leaders to dishonest salesmen, have succeeded because they know how emotions shape human decisions. While humans believe they are mostly logical, emotions guide far more behavior than people realize. Fear can control crowds, attention can create addiction, and loneliness can weaken judgment. people who understand these emotional weaknesses can influence others without obvious force. Manipulation usually begins subtly. A person studies emotional needs to learn what makes someone feel insecure or dependent, then slowly shapes behavior using those pressures.
One powerful manipulation technique is emotional inconsistency. By alternating between warmth and coldness, a manipulator creates confusion and emotional dependency as the brain begins chasing approval unpredictably. Humans become psychologically attached to uncertainty surprisingly easily. Fear and guilt are also common tools. People under fear think less clearly, and guilt can be used to control others without appearing aggressive. Skilled manipulators may also mirror behavior strategically, copying interests and speech styles to create artificial trust. Connection can be manufactured because humans naturally trust those who feel similar to themselves. Flattery is another dangerous tool, as many people become emotionally blind when receiving the validation they desperately want to hear. Even social groups can become manipulative, pressuring individuals into conformity through the deep human craving for belonging.
This is why observation must include self-protection. When you understand these techniques, you become harder to control and begin recognizing psychological games more clearly. However, there is a danger in becoming overly suspicious or emotionally detached. Analyzing every conversation for hidden motives is unhealthy. Not every kindness is manipulation, and not every nervous gesture hides deception. The strongest observers remain emotionally intelligent rather than emotionally cold. They understand human weakness while maintaining empathy. Everyone influences others or hides emotions sometimes. The line between communication and manipulation can often be blurry. Ultimately, the real power of observation is not controlling people, but understanding them. When observation becomes only a tool for power, the observer begins losing something important inside themselves as well.
Chapter 16: Becoming Socially Intelligent. Reading people is not the final goal. Understanding them is. True social intelligence is more than detecting nervousness or recognizing deception. It is the ability to understand human behavior while responding with awareness, balance, and emotional control. While observation without emotional intelligence can become cold, observation combined with empathy becomes powerful. Many assume socially intelligent individuals are simply charming or extroverted, but the skill is much deeper. It is the ability to sense emotional atmosphere, understand unspoken feelings, and make people feel psychologically comfortable. Highly socially intelligent people observe constantly, sensing discomfort or tension before conflict even appears. Most importantly, they understand emotions without needing everything explained directly.
One of the strongest signs of social intelligence is emotional control. A person who loses control during every disagreement becomes emotionally vulnerable, whereas socially intelligent individuals remain aware of their feelings without allowing them to dictate behavior. Calmness creates clarity. This does not mean suppressing emotion, but responding consciously instead of reacting impulsively. Listening is equally vital. Most people listen only enough to reply, but real listening is rare. When people feel truly heard, trust increases naturally, and many conflicts disappear simply because someone finally felt understood. Social intelligence also involves adaptability. Different people require different communication styles, whether it is direct honesty or emotional sensitivity. Rigid communication only creates unnecessary conflict. Socially intelligent people also understand timing. They know that a joke at the wrong moment can damage trust, while silence used correctly can calm a situation better than a speech. Confidence also improves communication because it reduces emotional desperation. Calm people naturally make others feel safer.
This skill should grow your empathy, helping you realize that behavior often hides pain, that the rude are often insecure, and the angry are often hurt. Finally, social intelligence requires understanding yourself. Your own fears and patterns distort your observations of others. Socially intelligent people rarely need to prove themselves or dominate conversations. They make others feel understood instead. Once you truly understand these hidden human struggles, you stop seeing people as strangers and begin seeing them as emotional worlds, carrying stories most never speak aloud.
Chapter 17. When Humans Become Transparent. At the beginning of this journey, people probably seemed mysterious. Conversations felt unpredictable, emotions felt hidden, and human behavior appeared chaotic and difficult to understand. But now, things look different. You have learned how fear changes posture, how confidence affects movement, and how attraction reveals itself silently. You have seen how anxiety leaks through the body, how deception creates inconsistency, and how the voice exposes hidden emotional states. Most importantly, you learned that humans are constantly revealing themselves, even when they believe they are hiding. This does not mean people become simple. Human beings are still deeply emotional, complicated, and full of contradiction. A smiling face can carry silent sadness for years, and a confident person can secretly feel insecure. Observation does not remove complexity. It reveals it. The deeper you observe, the more you realize that nearly everyone is fighting invisible emotional battles.
Human behavior is often a mask protecting emotional vulnerability. That realization changes the way you see the world. Suddenly, ordinary conversations no longer feel ordinary. You notice tension before arguments begin. You sense discomfort hidden behind polite smiles. You recognize attraction before words appear. You feel emotional energy shifting quietly inside rooms. People begin appearing more transparent than before. Not because you gained supernatural powers, but because you finally learned to pay attention. And perhaps the most surprising part of all is this: the more you understand others, the more you understand yourself. You begin noticing your own nervous habits, emotional reactions, and defensive behaviors. Observation turns inward naturally. You start recognizing moments when your own body reveals emotions before your words do. You notice how fear affects your decisions and how silence changes your thoughts. In the end, observation becomes more than a social skill. It becomes self-awareness.
But there is an important truth you must remember. Never lose your humanity. Do not reduce people to psychological puzzles or become emotionally cold. Human beings are more than patterns and reactions. They need understanding more than judgment. The purpose of observation is not superiority. It is awareness. A truly skilled observer becomes calmer, wiser, and more compassionate because they understand how fragile human beings really are beneath appearances. Once you see that clearly, anger softens and patience grows. You begin listening differently. Slowly, the world transforms into a silent conversation happening everywhere around you. A nervous glance, a hidden smile, a pause before speaking, or an unspoken desire for connection. These are signals most people never notice. But now, you do. Because once you learn the language humans speak without words, it becomes impossible to stop